nasty guy. So in love might make you puke. She's the apple of his eye. Sit right down, we're gonna give you the scoop with Ryan Pfeiffer and
Carter Lovelace.
Stammer ding dong loop de loop. This is the story of a guy named Mr. Boop.
You're listening to Being Mr. Boop. Unless you already turned it off, but then you wouldn't hear this tagline anyway. My name is Ryan Pfeiffer, and I am Mr. Boop.
My name is Carter Lovelace, soon to be Lord William Carter Lovelace the 11th. I am also Mr. Boop.
Carter or William, whichever. It's Monday, October 19th, 2020, and today we're reading the 183rd ever Mr. Boop strip. Lisa is not here. What happens Lisa is not here because she was mauled by squirrels and she is in the hospital. What happens in today's Mr. Boop?
It just says, come on and Zoom.
Well, that's what happens. Come
Okay.
on Zoom and welcome to the... You have the strip up, right?
I do. I haven't had a... Okay, I'll take a look
Shadow
at it now.
synopsis. Don't have a lot to say. I hope you are enjoying this normal happy romance. That's from the Patreon. All lowercase, but there's a period after say. But not after romance. I forget. Have you read Mr. Boop?
But the strip title now is Mr. Boop.
Yes, this is Mr. Boop. Have you read Mr. Boop? I forget.
Yes, but I haven't read to the point where it becomes Mr. Boop.
So you've read some of it. You haven't
Yes.
read through it.
I can tell the art style changed pretty significantly.
Well, this is real life now. Yeah,
What?
it turns out he was lying about being married to Betty Boop. So now
And
this
so
is
he's
just
married to a
about
random woman?
this is just about his real life now.
What?
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
So-
4 panels.
Okay.
4 panels of computer screens. Mr. Boop. Panel 1, we're looking at a laptop. I guess they have like a Zoom window open.
It's more like Skype.
Zoom, Skype, Discord, whatever. We're using Discord right now. We're also doing a video call because that's what, I don't usually do video calls when I record things, but this is what they do on Being Jim Davis when they do the Zoom. They always have the video call, so that's what I do when I record this. Although Lisa doesn't usually turn her camera on. In fact, most of the guests don't usually turn their camera on. But I do because I have one.
Yeah.
We see Alec in the Zoom window, or whatever window, the video call.
He's seated centered in frame with his thick-rimmed glasses and thick eyebrows.
Which implies
staring
he's
wistfully into the camera.
He's either looking at himself on video call, or this is someone else's computer looking at the video call.
I think it's someone else's computer. I think his computer is a desktop, and then somebody else owns the laptop.
Why do you predict
Presumably
that he
person
has a
talking.
desktop? Can you see into the future?
Well, it implies it's a desktop computer on the next panel.
That's true. But in panel 1, he's sitting in a chair also. That's all we see of his background is just his very square chair.
It's implied to be a chair, but we don't know what it is. It could just be a rectangle he's standing in front of.
Yeah, maybe he's like green screened out his background, including his chair.
And he's put
got a green chair.
monolith behind him.
Yes.
On the screen.
And he has a electronic speech bubble, which is just a regular speech bubble, but the tail is like all like a lightning bolt.
Which implies that it's coming through a machine, like a phone, or in this case, speakers.
Or a laptop screen.
Well, yeah,
because
actually, it's drawn coming from the screen.
It's
for
coming
some
from the
reason.
screen because that's where his mouth is on the screen.
I guess that makes it
But
more
that
intuitive
doesn't-
to understand who's talking.
Yeah. It doesn't... Whatever. The speech bubble reads... Here, why don't
It's
you read
harder
it?
to draw the comics because they're more detailed now.
Mm-hmm. Which is true. And we could tell that in one of the earlier strips this week where it looked kind of rotoscoped. No, last week. Not this week.
It's traced.
I don't think it was traced, but it did look like...
Well, rotoscoping is just tracing over frames.
It looked rotoscoped, but I don't think it was.
I see.
And also, it would have to be animation to be rotoscoped. So, panel 2, it's sort of a reverse shot, but it's like a reverse shot would just be we would just see the person who was looking at the laptop. We do see that, but we see them through a computer screen.
So initially, we were seeing somebody's
laptop. It's a digital
reverse
Alex. Shot.
Right, but now we're seeing presumably Alex's desktop monitor with a lady sitting in frame.
That's Liz.
That's Liz.
That's his. They're kind of like seeing each other now.
Wife? Oh, girlfriend?
I don't think they've said that out loud, but it's kind of like implied. That's where they're headed.
He's drawn a lot of eyeliner on her.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't know how to. that's how he draws realistic women's eyes, maybe. Do I have to? I'm not gonna explain.
She's wearing a tank top.
Just listen to the other episodes. Yeah, she's wearing a tank top. No, I was gonna try to explain their relationship. She recognized him as the guy who draws Mr. Boop.
How?
And then they started, and she also said that her name is Elizabeth, and by the way, Betty is short for Elizabeth.
How?
Betty, Beth, Elizabeth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She has more of an elaborate background. She's not doing like green screening in front of an obelisk. She actually has like what looks like a computer chair, and she's got some framed art behind her. Well,
maybe they're pictures of family.
This convinces me more that Alec is not just in his office and is like green screening out his background, because also I just noticed in panel 1 Alec is wearing a t-shirt, which is not his normal attire at all. Like usually he wears this like button up short sleeve shirt, but now he's wearing a t-shirt for some reason, which I don't think we've ever seen him wear a t-shirt. But we know what Alec's office looks like. We know that he has like framed stuff and like bookshelves behind him.
So this is the conspiracy. So he's not in his office, or he's green screening out his background.
He must be green screening out his background. I don't think we've ever seen him on a video call before. So, and Liz,
but she's replying to him through the screen, saying the electric speech bubble, and she's replying to him, and she says,
"That makes sense. They look great." You read his dialogue. I'll read this dialogue. That makes sense. They look great. That's the electro point after sense, 2 electro points after great. Slang Guide t-shirt coming soon. Still haven't made it. Panel 3, same shot. Still looking at the desktop monitor with Liz on the call.
But now she's waving one finger in the air like she's making a point.
Yeah, waving or just sticking it up. And her face looks, I guess, like slightly more determined.
Her face looks compressed.
Maybe that's it. And she says, "Make sure you take plenty of breaks." 2 electro points.
And from the background, we can see his reply, "I will," also with 2 electro points.
Yeah, it's like coming from the direction of the keyboard or whatever that is that we see, like a little bit of at the bottom. I assume that's the keyboard, but it also looks small for a keyboard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Also, we can see that Liz comes higher above. This is what makes me think that is maybe Alec has just started selling his stuff now that he's not married to. I mean, he was never married to Betty Boop. Maybe he's just started selling elements of his office, which is why he only has the chair now, and the rest is just a blank background. Because I think that is his chair, because he's coming up like barely above it, whereas Liz is like coming up like it comes up to her shoulders, because she's so much taller.
Is it that she's tall, or does it just have a really high back chair?
Liz is much taller than Alec. I think that's why it's drawn that way.
Alec is a manlet.
Yeah. Panel 4, same shot as panel 1 of the laptop screen. Alec looks somewhat flustered. He's blushing
flushed,
a little bit.
He's got blush in his cheeks, and his eyebrows are raised.
Yeah, and he's got an electronic speech bubble coming from the laptop screen.
Your place again tonight?
Electoral heart. And she replies from off screen to the bottom of the screen, from the from point of view perspective. She says, "Yep, see you then." Electro point after yep, 2 electro points after then.
They're gonna bang it out at her place.
Well, they've already done that. They did that in the last strip.
Well, they'll do it again.
That was like
keep throwing strips of them banging.
That was they had reached that point in their relationship in the last strip.
So is Liz like a real person in real life, or is she like a fictional real person?
It's impossible to tell. Who knows? Like we can't trust him anymore because he lied to us for all those strips.
I guess I'm asking,
so he's saying that she's real, but how can we really know? Because he's always said that Betty Boop was he's real not trustworthy anymore. Yeah,
well, he never was, because he was always claiming Betty Boop was his wife, and everyone knows going in Betty Boop doesn't exist.
Oh, we assumed he was trustworthy, and now we know better.
It's gotten meta. No, but I was asking, like, he posts pictures of himself and videos and stuff, but has he ever posted a picture of or with a girl that looks like this?
No.
Okay. That leads me to believe that she might not exist.
Only time will tell.
Or it is possible that she's a real person that he knows, but they have not had sex and he's being creepy.
I've speculated that. I mean, obviously, I don't really think that. She's
a girl that he has a crush on, and she's gonna see these comics and say, I don't want to go near that guy.
I mean, within fiction, that may be the case. Like, if she is, like, we may be supposed to read it that way, that he is just like, she's either completely made up, or he's being weird, or we're supposed to read it as he's being weird about a person he met and doesn't actually know this well.
Mm-hmm. He's making up a relationship with a person that he knows, even though that relationship doesn't exist.
Yes, but I'm saying like, even if the person doesn't exist, we're meant to read it as like she doesn't. We're meant to read it as she does exist, but this isn't real. Like, we're meant,
and that's a trope that you see recurring in a lot of independent online publications, especially comics, where people will have a self-insert character like Alec, and they will begin to write in characters that are inserts of people they know in real life, and use that to enact whatever their fantasies are, whether it's a relationship or revenge or whatever it is. Even though it doesn't reflect reality, in their minds they're projecting both their real selves and a real other person into a fictional scenario.
This reminds me, you know what I read the other day, which I guess is true, about Lost, that Lost was actually based on a real event.
Well, I would believe that. Whether or not it happened to the author is another thing, but I would believe it's based on a real story that actually did happen.
He had previously been in a relationship where his girlfriend had a miscarriage, and then
I would believe
he
that.
Incorporated that into the comic strip.
It's not uncommon.
And then it turned into a meme, and then he made jokes about the meme.
Yeah. It was understood to have come out of left field and be very jarring, but that's kind of what it is like in real life, though, isn't it?
Well, I guess this is kind of satirizing stuff like that to an extent. Or it could be read that way. I mean, it's always been sort of like satirizing different types of comic strips like that, but that sort of meta narrative of it could be satirizing that sort of thing. I don't know. That's a reading of it. I had another thought. I don't remember. This is Mr. Boop. You've been listening to Being Mr. Boop. What do you get when you cross a podcast with a webcomic? You get webcomics, reviews, and interviews. A webcomic podcast devoted to the creation and monetization of webcomics. Anyway, this was Being Mr. Boop. I don't know what that... Lisa wrote that. I don't know what that podcast is. You can visit the show's website at www.beingmrboop.com for a full catalog of episodes and to sign up to host the podcast. For more updates, follow at Mr. Boop Pod on Twitter. I'm at Candyman106 or at SemiSweetSauce for everything else I make. Carter, what do you have to promote?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Carter from SL. I don't really post on Twitter much. The outro catchphrase just changed to, coincidentally, Hitler is alive in this universe.
It's true. That's Mr. Boop has made it so.
I like that.
What did you just change to make the?
I didn't change anything. Literally, I was looking at it, and then all of a sudden the text changed to that.
Well, we'll figure out what he changed next time on Being Mr. Boop. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
There must be some sort of key that like triggers
it. This podcast was brought to you by the Pitch Drop Podcast Network. Like what you just heard? Support the show by going to patreon.com/pitchdrop. And while you're at it, check out pitchdrop.net for more of this and other shows.